idea what does it mean for us, and also like what does it mean for all the other people who like invested China? Is it because it's continuing troubling?
Hey Ben, what a weekend it's been for like Iskandar Waterfront City, right? Because they were suspended for 2 days, and this morning, no surprise, hit limit down.
Yeah. I think the only question is whether it's going to be limit down tomorrow as well.
Now what is it now around? $2, is it?
216.
That, which is quite amazing considering it's gone from like 80 cents to $3. I mean, to be fair, this was to be expected. And I suppose when I was looking at the deal, because we covered it so much last week, was that what does this mean for any other China investor who's coming to Malaysia? I mean, should they all panic that their deals can apparently be deleted within like 3 hours before with the facts?
I think what happened has definitely created some uncertainty.
Yeah.
But at face value, and talking to a lot of people who are involved, this was very specific to the Bandar Malaysia deal because, you know, somebody might have wanted to take over the deal.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting part because definitely it doesn't seem that, I mean, the main thing that TRX said was that they didn't have funds, but you talked to people who said they did have funds, right?
It wasn't even about funds, it was about preparing the payment obligations, getting a bank guarantee to show that you had the money on standby for a deferred payment in 2023.
Okay.
They didn't even have to transfer the money by the 3rd of May. Yeah.
All right, so they didn't even have to transfer the money. Let's talk about this sort of like you mentioned, I suppose you mentioned in the slide was that somebody at the side. So the metaphor that you use is that IWH-CREC got left at the altar, right? Because Bandar Malaysia found a better prospect?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the facts, IWH-CREC had 99%, if not 100% of the CPs met when by 3rd of May. TRX chose to abandon the deal, terminate the deal. And that's kind of strange. It's like being left at the altar, you know? You've already prepared the wedding, you've gone up on that, and then suddenly you get this note that says, I'm sorry, you know?
So, well, Bandar Malaysia is a bit like, well, you know, under 1MDB, Bandar Malaysia wasn't the prettiest piece of land, but obviously she's moved out from her dad's place, moved down to her granddad and gotten some work done because right now it is more an attractive piece of land. Is that why MOF wanted to keep everything to themselves?
Well, under 1MDB, there's a lot of stigma. Today, HSR, they signed the MOU, MRT is moving along, and I think most importantly, the 1MDB stigma is gone.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're talking about 40 to 70% increase in the land valuation.
Okay, is that why MOF you think wanted to keep it to themselves?
I don't think MOF wants to keep it to themselves.
Well, that's how they seem to imply in the TRX letter. They said that it's appreciated so much, we want to have it all to ourselves so we can give it back to the good of the Malaysian people. That's how they seem to put it.
Yep. I think going forward, there's still a lot of flexibility how they can approach it. I'm under the impression that they could still sell out parcels of it, but it looks like they could also appoint a master developer to manage the whole project.
Okay, and this is the master developer that we have to keep an eye on.
Correct.
Because again, who exactly is waiting in the wings to take off? I mean, who stole our bride's heart, so to speak?
I think it's important to recognize that Bandar Malaysia is a huge project, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of developers can fork out 7.4 billion upfront.
True.
And develop over 20, 30 years, likely. The Chinese had the balance sheet to do it. But if you're talking about local guys who can do this, probably not. So that's why when they said that they're going to retain 100% equity, it's very interesting because it opens up the possibility for smaller players to come in at a master developer level. They don't need a full balance sheet to buy up the equity.
Of course not, yeah.
And they get to carve up the land and decide, you know, who develops what.
All right.
So I think that's a very interesting position to be in.
All right, okay, so, but here's the thing. What if our dear bride gets torn up in litigation? Because is there a chance that CREC, okay, IWH aside, because he's got a lot of local interests, he's got a lot of his own skin in the game. CREC doesn't have that kind of local interest, so to speak. Can they drag the government to court?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's still a very sensitive G2G situation.
Yeah.
So CREC is not likely to do it, but they could. You know, it's not, I won't take it off the table. Yeah.
All right, and then here's the other thing. Back to Mr. Kang Ho, who was having, seems that Tan Sri was having like one of the best runs of his years. His stock was so up and all this kind of stuff. What does this mean for the ongoing consolidation between, of course, what's listed, which is IWC, and the holding company?
Yeah.
Is that going to still be as attractive now that the arguably what could be the crown jewels gone?
So I think people were buying IWC for two reasons. One is the merger and looking at Bandar Malaysia being including the assets. But the other one was this really bullish sentiment on Tan Sri Lim Kang Ho. And right now the crown jewel assets off the table.
Yeah.
But the question is whether or not Tan Sri is falling out of favour, if you want to put it that way. And from the looks of it, probably not, because it was very specific to this deal. Again, we must recognize that.
You keep saying that this deal. What is actually going to mean for like all of us? All right. I mean, it's a valued piece of land. It's a big piece of asset. So who comes in is going to be momentous. So what does it mean for all of us?
I guess for us as the taxpayer, it probably doesn't mean much because the land is now under MOF's balance sheet, and they don't have an issue holding on to it. They can take their time to monetize it. So in a way, it's good for us because they can take more time to monetize it. But of course, the conduct, which has been heavily criticized, may pose problems for other deals in the future.
Did you think how it was handled by TRX City was wrong?
I think someone
The people who you talked to, did they think this was just, look, it's not on, it's not kosher?
Yeah. So I spoke to someone in government, and they basically said, when you are in need, when you really needed help, and someone came and gave you money, you took it. But the moment you're okay, you cut the ties. So I think that pretty much sums up the sentiment of this deal.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.